Biomed, Nexus Daily Updates, your essential biotech, medtech, and pharma recap. No noise, just what matters. TLDR Altimmune's GLP-1 and glucagon drug curbed heavy drinking in a mid-stage study, and shares rose. It is the latest sign that GLP-1s reach well beyond weight loss, now into addiction. Lilly's retatrutide data positions it to file, though analysts flagged open questions about how much the triple hormone approach adds on heart health specifically. The FDA called Replimmune's melanoma data package not interpretable, setting up a brutal advisory meeting alongside Capricor's this week. The Section 232 pharma tariffs land tomorrow, the week's thread, and one outlet called the coming generic tariffs the clearest test yet of the whole reshoring agenda. Novo asked a court to halt Lilly's obesity ads, escalating the GLP-1 legal fight, with Lilly calling its campaign truthful. Executive takeaway: the GLP-1 story keeps outgrowing the box everyone put it in. Altimmune reported that pemvidutide, its GLP-1 and glucagon drug, curbed heavy drinking in a mid-stage study, and the stock rose on the news. Sit with that for a second. Over the past 2 months, we have covered GLP-1s moving into liver disease with Wegovy's MASH approval, into sleep apnea, and now into alcohol use disorder. The thread connecting them is that these drugs act on the brain's reward and appetite circuitry, not just on metabolism, which is why the same mechanism that reduces the urge to eat may reduce the urge to drink. If that holds up in larger trials, the addressable population for this class expands from obesity and diabetes into addiction medicine, one of the largest unmet needs in all of healthcare. We keep saying the obesity drug is becoming a metabolic platform. It may be becoming a neurometabolic one. At the same time, the class is not immune to hard questions. Lilly's new retatrutide data position the company to file, which is unambiguously good, but analysts noted the results leave open how much the triple hormone approach adds, specifically on cardiovascular health versus the weight loss it drives. That nuance matters for how retatrutide gets positioned against tirzepatide and against the outcomes data that justify premium reimbursement. Extraordinary efficacy on weight is established. The cardiovascular case is still being built. Both things are true, and the honest read is that retatrutide is a near lock commercially and still has a data story to finish. Tomorrow is the day we have pointed to all week. The Section 232 pharma tariffs take effect for large companies, and the generic tariffs behind them are, as Axios put it, the clearest test yet of whether the administration can both reshore manufacturing and lower drug prices at the same time. We will pay off the thread tomorrow with what actually lands. Read, full analysis, GLP-1A GLP-1 drug just cut heavy drinking, and the frontier widened again. Altimmune said its drug, pemvidutide, which targets the GLP-1 and glucagon receptors, curbed heavy drinking in a mid-stage study, and its shares rose, according to Biospace. Alcohol use disorder is a massive, poorly served market where the few approved medicines are underused and modestly effective. A GLP-1-based drug showing benefit there extends a pattern we have tracked all summer, with the class moving beyond weight loss into MASH, sleep apnea, and now addiction. The likely explanation is mechanistic. These drugs act on the brain circuits that govern craving and reward, so a drug that dampens the drive to eat may also dampen the drive to drink. Larger trials will decide whether the effect is real and durable, but the signal alone reframes how big this class could ultimately be. Retatrutide is ready to file, with one question still open. LY New findings position Lilly to file retatrutide, its triple hormone agonist, though the data leave open questions about the additive cardiovascular benefit of the three-receptor approach, according to Biopharma Dive. This refines the strong triumph results we covered Monday. Retatrutide's weight loss, around 28% in earlier data, is the highest in the class and makes it a commercial near certainty. The subtler point is that hitting glucagon on top of GIP and GLP-1 drives weight loss powerfully, but the specific cardiovascular outcome benefit, the thing that anchors the best reimbursement and the strongest guidelines, still needs to be fully demonstrated. It does not dim the launch outlook. It just means the outcome story has another chapter to write. Regulatory, the FDA called Replimmune's data not interpretable, and the AdCom just got harder. RePL, Kappa, the FDA said Replimmune's melanoma data package is not interpretable, setting up a difficult advisory committee meeting this week, according to Biospace. That is even harsher than the doubts raised about Capricor's Duchenne filing we covered yesterday, and it means both previously rejected therapies walk into their hearings this week against skeptical agency reviews. It sharpens the puzzle we have tracked. The FDA accepted Replimmune's resubmission earlier this summer, which read as a friendlier posture, and is now publicly questioning whether the data can even be interpreted. That whiplash is the uneven reset we keep flagging. For both companies, this week's votes are now high risk, and the language in these briefing documents makes a smooth path unlikely. Policy tomorrow's tariffs are the real test of the reshoring promise. The Section 232 pharma tariffs take effect for large companies tomorrow, and the generic drug tariffs announced to follow are, per an Axios analysis, the clearest test yet of whether the administration can keep two promises at once: increase U.S. drug manufacturing and lower prescription costs. Those goals are in tension. Tariffs give the country more control over the supply chain, but they can also make the cheapest generic medicines more expensive precisely when patients want relief. It is the same problem we have flagged since the White House onshoring push in July. Tariffs raise import costs reliably. They build domestic capacity only slowly and only if paired with subsidies or procurement support. Tomorrow, the first real bill comes due, and how companies respond with pricing signals or onshoring commitments tells you which way this is breaking. Quick hits. Appnimed raised its IPO target to up to 160 matters, a touch above yesterday's terms, as investor interest in its sleep apnea pill firms up. Novo asked a court to halt Lilly's obesity drug advertising, seeking an injunction against ads it calls misleading, while Lilly countered that its campaign is truthful, escalating the GLP-1 legal fight we covered last week. Biotechs are pouring billions into alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, a rare liver disorder few have heard of, drawn by a strong commercial opportunity, in a sign of how far capital is reaching for the next durable rare disease market. GSK shares rose as investors welcomed the $2.5b cost-cutting plan we covered yesterday, a vote of confidence in the restructuring. Coming up. Tomorrow, July 31st, Section 232 pharma tariffs effective for large companies. This week, Capricorn and Replimmune FDA AdComs, plus continued Q2 earnings. Late July, BMS KarXT Alzheimer's, Psychosis readout, PTC Sepiapterin, PKU readout August 2026, Replimmune RP1 FDA response. August 22, Capricorn Duramiocel PDUFA read, full analysis Biomed, Nexus, Pro Institutional Intelligence Brief, GLP-1s and the Addiction. Frontier Altimmune's drug-curbing heavy drinking is worth taking seriously as a strategic signal, because if the effect is real, it expands this drug class into one of the largest unmet needs in medicine. The mechanism is the key. GLP-1-based drugs were designed for glucose control and weight loss, but they act centrally on the brain circuits that regulate appetite, reward, and craving. Anecdotal reports from patients on these drugs describing reduced desire for alcohol have circulated for a while, and now a mid-stage trial is putting data behind the observation. The biological logic is coherent. If the same reward circuitry drives overeating and overdrinking, a drug that dampens one may dampen the other. The market implication is enormous. Alcohol use disorder affects tens of millions of people. the approved medicines are few and underused, and stigma and modest efficacy limit the current options. A drug with a genuine effect backed by the safety profile and prescriber familiarity these agents already have could reach a population that current addiction medicine largely fails. And alcohol may only be the start. The same rationale extends to other addictions and compulsive behaviors, which is why every readout in this area now draws attention. The caution is real too. Mid-stage signals in neuropsychiatric and behavioral endpoints often shrink in larger, better-controlled trials, and craving and consumption are hard to measure reliably. This is a promising signal, not a proven indication. But for a class already reshaping metabolic medicine, the addiction frontier is the kind of optionality that keeps expanding the ceiling. For companies, the read is that GLP-1 assets carry option value well beyond obesity and diabetes, and the ones with differentiated mechanisms, like the glucagon component in Altimmune's drug, may have advantages in specific indications. Watch this space because it keeps getting bigger. Retatrutide's open heart. Question: the nuance in Lilly's retatrutide data is worth understanding because it shapes how the biggest obesity drug in development gets positioned and paid for. Retatrutide is a triple agonist, adding glucagon to the GIP and GLP-1 targets that tirzepatide already hits. That third lever drives its class-leading weight loss. The question analysts raised is whether the triple mechanism delivers a cardiovascular benefit beyond what the weight loss alone would predict, and that distinction matters more than it sounds. Here is why. In the obesity and cardiometabolic market, the drugs that command the best reimbursement and the strongest treatment guidelines are the ones with proven cardiovascular outcomes data, meaning trials showing they reduce heart attacks, strokes, and cardiovascular death, not just weight and risk factors. Weight loss is the headline. Outcomes are the moat. Tirzepatide and semaglutide have been building their outcomes cases, and that is central to their premium positioning. For retatrutide, the new data support a filing and confirm the weight efficacy, but leaving the additive cardiovascular benefit an open question means the outcome story is not yet complete. Glucagon agonism has complex cardiovascular and metabolic effects, so demonstrating a clean, additive heart benefit is not automatic. Lilly will need the dedicated cardiovascular outcomes readouts, part of the broader TRIUMPH program, to fully make the case. The practical read: retatrutide is a commercial near certainty on weight loss alone, and it will launch into overwhelming demand, but its ultimate positioning against tirzepatide and its ability to command the very top of the market on guidelines and reimbursement depends on the outcomes data still to come. For Lilly, this is a sequencing story, not a doubt about the drug. File on the strong weight and metabolic data, then complete the cardiovascular case. For competitors and investors, it is a reminder that in this category, the outcomes data is what separates a great weight loss drug from a franchise-defining one, and retatrutide has that chapter left to write. Coming catalysts: Section 232 tariffs hit tomorrow, Capricorn and Replimune adcoms this week. Late July brings the KarXT and sepiapterin readouts. The full catalyst calendar returns tomorrow. A GLP-1 drug just curbed heavy drinking, and the frontier for this class keeps widening. Retatrutide is ready to file with one question still open, and the tariffs everyone has watched all week land tomorrow. What are you watching? Reply to this email. Visit the Pro Hub Read. Full article sponsorship slots for 2026 are limited. See packages and pricing. New Biomed Nexus signals weekly sales intelligence for life sciences BD teams. Learn more